I am training to run a sub-48 second 400, and in this week of training I had multiple crazy PR sessions, including one of the toughest 400 meter workouts I've ever done, and I discussed some big changes that are going to happen in my training coming up, so make sure you stick around for that. It's Monday, September 23rd, kind of a chilly day. It's only like 65 degrees out here, but I'm really excited for this week of training. I'm going to be adding in some intensive plyometrics today and on Thursday this week. And then on Tuesday and Friday, I'll be doing some more extensive plyometrics. And I'm also gonna be doing a lot more form work than I have been. So I'm gonna be following some stuff from Randy Huntington in his series, Re-Engineering SUB. Just like usual in my warm-up, I started out with a general warm-up. So I was just doing movement in all of the different planes of motion, trying to heat up my body temperature and get my tissues sliding smoothly, reducing the risk of injury, and of course, improving performance. Then I went on to do some posterior chain activation stuff. There's some debate on whether activating a muscle is really doing anything positive. You could argue that it's just fatiguing the muscle and then making it weaker going into the workout. But if Randy Huntington does this with his athletes, I'm happy to do it for myself. And it also teaches some things like good posture and pelvic positioning if you do it right. Then I moved on to doing some stuff that was working on developing proper footpath, because that is very important for max speed mechanics. Here specifically what I was working on is trying to get the right timing between hip and knee extension. Your knee will extend while you're sprinting, but you only want it to extend as a natural byproduct of your hip extending. You don't want it to be casted out in front of you. I went on to some dribbles in place and was just working on that for a while. Ankle dribbles are one of the best drills for translating over to max speed. I did some with my arms out in front of me, which helps put some more emphasis on the core and add some difficulty to the movement. This stuff feels weird, guys. It feels like I'm probably doing it wrong, which I probably am. They say it takes a long time to learn how to do this stuff right. What I'm gonna try to do is progress until it feels like I'm doing it right standing still. And then I'll go into 5 meters. And then if that feels okay, it'll go to 10 and then so on and so on. Randy Huntington works up to doing 40 meters of that kind of stuff with his athletes. He'll do doubles, like 2 on the left, 2 on the right, and he'll do triples. And he'll do 1 leg at a time with one arm up, 1 leg at a time with the other arm up. All kinds of stuff I get to explore to try to develop the coordinations that are needed to be a high-level athlete. My legs are feeling really warm right now, which is good. So I'm gonna get into some acceleration work, probably gonna time some 2-point starts and then do some flies. I'm gonna be timing these using the app Photo Finish automatic timer. I really like it, it's worked great, and I'm gonna use their touch start feature this time, so that means when my thumb lifts up off my phone, it'll start the timer, and when I cross through the camera lens of my second phone, it'll stop the timer. So it'll be very accurate timing for these 10 meter XLs that I'm gonna do. I'm still in regular shoes and sweats, and that was actually a really good time for me. I am doing weird like 2-point, 3-point start hybrids. So like, it's basically a 2-point start, but I have to reach down to touch the start thing. And so it's basically turning into a 3-point start. Regardless, that was a decent time for having shoes and sweats on. The focus with these excels is gonna be attacking down and back and being really aggressive. And the focus on the flies is gonna be getting a good buildup. So I'm gonna really focus on horizontal force production during the buildup. It will be rolling starts, not standing, and then trying to relax through the speed zone, because I've been trying to force it recently because I hit some speed PRs a couple months ago and I've been kind of slacking since then. So I think I'm trying to force good times to come through instead of just allowing good times to come through. So that was better, but it was not as much better as it should have been considering I put on spikes and everything. Better that time, except I rushed my first step, so I wasn't patient enough and I didn't give myself long enough to push. And also I was very tense, so there's always like a million things to think about, but I'm gonna try to relax a little bit. Also just think about pushing as hard as I can against the ground, because usually, for me at least, that helps lead to a little bit of patience. That one was kind of slow again, but the other ones, I don't know if you could see it because it might actually be slightly out of the camera, but I sort of fell into the reps. It's kind of like, they weren't fully static starts. It was a little more like this. And so there's a little bit of extra spring loading. The last one was a fully static start. So that could have contributed to a slightly slower time. Actually, that would make a lot of sense if it did. Other than that, I'm still overthinking it to a pretty significant degree. I'd be a lot better off if I could do some resisted acceleration work, and I've responded really well to that in the past, but I don't have access to a sled anymore because I graduated college, and so I probably have to buy one. For the time being, I guess I'll just keep working on my technique. Hit 1.031 on that one, and I was very relaxed. Probably a little too relaxed, and it also just felt kind of weird. I'm really not used to doing like a skip in start. I haven't done that in a long time. I'm optimistic so far. I literally thought that was slow, and then I went and checked the time, and that's the third fastest fly I've ever run in my life. It felt kind of slow. I thought I was a little too relaxed. Maybe wasn't being aggressive enough, maybe didn't hit my acceleration angles, but no, that was a really good rep. I forgot to reset the timer, unfortunately, so we don't have an exact split for that one, but it was around 1.03, so got a little slower. It didn't feel that much different than the last couple. They all felt super relaxed, really low effort. Well, I shouldn't say low effort, more like effortless. Like I was trying, but it just felt easy and natural. I think I could have done a better job keeping my pelvis in position. When I'm able to do that, it makes a huge difference in my sprinting, but it's not the easiest or simplest thing to do. And if you're wanting to try that, you can do it by keeping your glutes braced, but essentially it's instead of letting your back arch out like this, it's like keeping it tucked under here. And when I do that, my acceleration and my top speed are significantly better than when I don't do it. And I think as I'm doing these roll-in starts, I'm kind of losing that pelvic stability a little bit. So anyway, I'm really happy with that. Ran 1.003. Basically could not have gone any better, especially for how fatigued I've been feeling and everything. I'm very happy with how that went. And so now we're gonna throw a little more on top of that fatigue and do some bounds, but not a big amount. We'll probably do like 2 sets of 4 or something like that. Just enough to give me the stimulus, but that's about it. And then like 1 to 2 sets of intensive pogos. Started out the bounds with alternate leg, alternate arm, and then I switched to both arms at the same time, and that felt a lot better. Felt quite a bit smoother, and like the power production was a lot higher. Also, I looked super uncoordinated doing those. I haven't done them in a long time, so I'm not very good at them anymore. Similar story with these intensive pogo hops I was doing, trying to get the shortest ground contact time possible. And then I was in the gym doing an active lunge isometric with 135 pounds. And I followed that up with some bent knee calf raises in this machine. Somebody suggested that I try wrapping a towel around the pads because these pads are very painful. And I actually ended up trying that, and it literally didn't help at all. The pads are such a small surface area that even with as much padding as I could put on them, it still hurts like crazy digging into my lower quads. Next up was a 200-meter repeat day, and I started out with a warm-up like always, and I did a little more of my standard form drills. And I followed those up with more extensive plyometrics to really warm up my foot and ankle complex. It's September 24th. Had a really solid workout yesterday and added in some plyos I'm not used to. So today, you can imagine I'm pretty sore, pretty tired, but at the same time, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling confident about today. And I have 200s. How many I do will kind of depend on how it goes. In an ideal world, I'll do 3, have like a 10-minute break and then do 2 more. What I'm gonna be focusing on is relaxed aggression. So I'm gonna have a really aggressive acceleration, and it'll be a rolling start, and then work on just staying relaxed, but fast. So relaxed aggression is one way to say it. Fast but relaxed is another way to say it. Basically, I'm gonna try to keep myself from muscling through the reps and instead try to kind of glide through. I'm running these backward on the track today for 2 reasons. 1, I wanted to start on a straight, and 2, I have some issues with my left foot from taking left-hand turns on the curve, and so anytime I think about it, I like to switch it up and go on a right-hand curve instead. I usually just forget, but today I didn't, so we're locked in. Even though I was sore, these 200 started out feeling very good. There's a bit of a tailwind in the start, and so after the initial acceleration of like 10 to 30 meters-ish, somewhere in that wide range, I was able to back off quite a bit, and then like I mentioned, just bounce down the track. It felt really good, and also turning right around the curve instead of left made my legs feel significantly better. I would highly suggest switching back and forth if you have that option available to you. Off to a really good start here. Got all the reps under 26.5, which is the goal. And I didn't completely lose control to do it. I was definitely hurting on the last rep, but didn't lose it completely, which means I'm the lucky winner of 2 more reps. I'm gonna rest 10, maybe 15 minutes. Gonna see how I'm feeling, because technically it's cool for it to be full recovery. I just didn't want to wait like 20 minutes, you know, so aiming for around 10-15 minutes, and then just gonna hit the last 2 hard as I can. Well, not literally as hard as I can, but as hard as I can while maintaining that fast, relaxed rhythm I'm going for.
This first rep after that break actually felt better than all the other reps, even the first couple that I did. I don't know if you guys have ever felt that, but sometimes when you do some kind of really hard rep and then take a rest, your body just gets primed up and ready to go. Regardless, I ran a really fast time on that first one, and the second one was decent enough for what I wanted. So I was very happy with that workout. It was a big PR 200s workout for the year. But the thing about 200s workouts is I've actually been thinking about it more and looking at the research, and I'm gonna make a whole video on this soon, but I don't really think 200 repeats are the best way to train for the 400. So I'm gonna put out a video, like I said, telling you guys some of my thoughts on what I think the best way to get faster in the 400 is. Anyway, on to the next day. I was doing some more of that form work I was talking about. Just before this, you saw me doing some B skips, but they were pretty rough. It's really difficult to get the knee to extend as a byproduct of the hip extending, but it's very important to do it correctly. And then I was doing some more dribbles and really working on my pelvic position. It makes such a big difference for your foot strike into the ground and also your power production. Here you can see me yet again failing to have good accelerations, but it's okay because it got me warmed up and ready to go on one of the craziest 400 workouts I've had all year. I opened it up with a 300, and all of these I was aiming to be at 90% of my goal 400 meter pace with very long recoveries. I think it was like 12-minute recoveries after this first rep, and then I was on to a 250. There was no time in this workout where it felt easy, but I felt somewhat in control the whole time. There wasn't a point where I completely blew up until maybe the end of the last rep, but I really tried to focus on form and bouncing down the track and just holding it together for the whole workout. I was also absolutely dying. Even though my body wasn't giving out, it was so hard to breathe that I was getting some of that dizziness you get from really hard workouts. All the typical stuff you'd expect. This was a very tough one. I believe this was the 150 now. You can see me falling apart around this corner, but I made it through the whole workout at the paces I wanted, which was awesome.
That workout was absolutely brutal. I'm so fried. I made it through. That's what matters.
Then I came out with my buddy to do some extensive tempo work. We did 6 150s, I believe, and the goal was to stay between 60 and 70% effort, if not a little bit below. And we jogged back for 50 meters and then walked back for 100 meters. There were quite a few other people on the track, but that was okay, we got the work in. My goal with these is always to feel better when I leave than when I came in. And then we went in for a lift, and I started with some deadlift. I've been struggling with this deadlift because I can't lift as much as I'm used to, but that's mainly a product of this bar being 3 or 4 inches lower to the ground than the bar I used to use back at college, and so I'm significantly weaker using it. I ended up not getting to talk much about my training moving forward and the changes I'm gonna make, so I'll give you the brief overview right now. It's gonna be a lot less volume. I'm gonna be paying a lot more attention to how my body feels, and also I'm gonna be focusing on where I am and where I need to be, instead of weird arbitrary goals that I just decided for myself and put up as barriers on my journey to the sub-48. There were certain things I wanted to do with the lifting and certain volumes I wanted to hit on the track, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. All that matters is at the end of the season's coming up, I'm gonna be competing sort of soon in the next few months or so, and I need to get myself in a state of freshness, I need to get myself healthy, and I need to get myself ready to perform. So again, there's going to be a whole video on that coming up very soon, and also a video breaking down the biggest mistakes I've made in my training, and actually one specific mistake that I've made almost every single year of training the whole time I've been an athlete, so you guys can avoid making that. Subscribe if you don't want to miss it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.